Observations with Meyer Burnett.
Hi, Robert. I hope yourself and the wonderful members of the Post-Geek Singularity have been sailing through the week with vivaciousness. As I said in my previous letter, that is not to say there hasn't been good films to come out of Hollywood. There have been plenty. Those that I had on my list of my favorite films for each year between 2010 and 2020 are examples. The Social Network, The King's Speech, Green Zone, Warrior, Zero Dark 30, Argo, Rush, The Big Short, and Joker. They spring to mind. Also, Black Klansman, Uncut Gems, Hustlers, Marriage Story, and The Irishman could be seen as other examples. Films that could be called diamonds in the rough. Pardon the pun. I say this because, unfortunately, they have been canceled or drowned out by the sheer plethora of mediocre to bad films to come out of the American film industry over the last decade, especially with regard to blockbuster epics. The sheer volume of them they have seen develop a sameness, emphasis of spectacle over substance due to an over-reliance of special effects at the expense of good storytelling, world building, and character development. Oh, you mean films that didn't generate love? This is my new favorite thing. You got to generate the love, man. Narrative complexity and depth of characters are certainly not something you associate with many recent blockbusters. Audiences have developed an indifference to such supposed blockbusters, jaded by films such as Ghostbusters, Independence Day Resurgence, Ben-Hur, Disney's Star Wars sequel, Pacific Rim Uprising, The Cloverfield Paradox, Dark Phoenix, Hellboy, and Men in Black International. However, they are certainly not alone in being underwhelming films. Here is a small list of examples of the types of forgettable movies that unfortunately made it to cinemas worldwide. Movie 43. After Earth, A Good Day to Die Hard, Grace of Monaco, A Magic in the Moonlight, Tammy, Vacation, Fantastic Four, War with Everyone, Cell, Zoolander 2, Max Steel, The Emoji Movie, 50 Shades Darker, Winchester, the 1517 to Paris, Robin Hood, A Wrinkle in Time, 50 Shades Free, Life of the Party, I Feel Pretty, The Predator, The Hustle, The Kitchen, 47 Meters Down, Uncaged, Charlie's Angels, Black Christmas, The Haunting of Sharon Tate, Cats, The Grudge, Doolittle, Artemis Fowl, Fantasy Island, and The War with Grandpa. Some of these films were not so much as feasts for the senses as they were brutal assaults on the senses. I have friends that have labeled many of these films crimes against Western culture. However, I would not go that far. I have heard the most recent installment of the Terminator franchise be called Terminator Dark Fart. That is even before one adds this year's unflattering, unfunny cinematic equivalent of a lump of coal entitled Thunder Force. The movie-going public has been left saying, we've seen it all before and we've seen it done better. That does not mean there haven't been any good blockbusters released over the last decade. Many MCU films, The Meg, Venom, and Aquaman are obvious examples. One of the biggest factors behind the majority of bad or underperforming movies is that they are movies made by committee and churned out as if they have been mass-produced on an assembly line. Pushed into existence by studio executives because they seem risk-averse and marketing analysis the films would guarantee huge returns on investment. However, they do not turn out that way. It is unfortunate when we see films tainted by studio interference because the creatives have worked so hard on the film with the goal of producing the best film they can. Very few directors are afforded creative license to produce the films they want to make. Spielberg, Lucas, James Cameron, Peter Jackson, Guillermo del Toro are the best examples of directors given this freedom. The problem of studio interference has come about through the fact that those corporations that come to own film studios and those that become studio executives have come from other industries that are not on the same level in terms of creativity as film production. So business practices are different and lend themselves to be governed by risk-averse tactics and analytics and so on. Not having substantial representation from those who have a knowledge of film production experience have proved problematic. They've put more faith in their marketing departments than their creatives, which is wrong. The reason why studios were so strong for many decades because those in upper management had lengthy experience in the industry and were dedicated to film. For many decades, they were largely family-owned companies or corporate entities that specialized in film and television production. They were not subsidiaries of large corporations who established their reputation in other industry or industries. Why do conglomerates want a slice of the action in Hollywood? Why do they acquire film studios? Well, the answer is obvious: money, and lots of it. Because as a consumable product, the film's reach is global. We all watch Hollywood make films from America to United Kingdom and everywhere else in between. Ask every man, woman, and child for their favorite films, and those produced in Hollywood would comprise the majority of their list. Then throw in ancillary markets, especially for blockbusters, and the scale goes off the chart. Merchandising, television, and streaming rights can net studios billions of a solitary intellectual property. The first 6 Star Wars films raked in over $6.8 billion globally for 20th Century Fox. Even in a stagnant year when no Star Wars films were released, such as 2012, the franchise still raked in $3 billion through merchandise and other ancillary markets. For Warner Brothers, the Harry Potter franchise netted $8.64 billion globally. The Jurassic Park franchise has earned a little over $5 billion worldwide for Universal. The Star Trek film franchise has netted Paramount approximately $2.7 billion from 13 films. The Fast and the Furious franchise has earned over $5.9 billion globally. See the attraction for corporations to want to have a foot in Hollywood. If you need further proof, there's a terrific documentary released on PBS in 2000, called The Monster That Hollywood. That's an odd title. I hope you got that right. Noted producer Peter Guber, an American Werewolf in London and Batman, made this exact same point. He said, "What is the attraction of multinational consumer electronics companies, 2 of them, Panasonic and Sony, to buying companies in Hollywood? What is the attraction of a Canadian spirits company, Seagram's, to buying a company in Hollywood? I think it's like the moth drawn to a flame. It's the attraction of the storyteller. There's something that you can't quite get anywhere else. To own a piece of that territory, to own a piece of that real estate, is to somehow say, that's mine, and then you see it on every screen in the world, is a very compelling element. Now, when it's also economically sound, and it can be, it's a very powerful magnet for these companies. Films that I made 25 years ago in the 1970s, Midnight Express, I'm still getting checks from exposure. The 25th year re-release to a video to a new DVD. So these are very valuable intellectual properties. Not easy to create, but still something that has a compelling nature for both the entrepreneurial spirit and the creative spirit of companies and people." In an interview with Film Courage, writer, comedian, and founder of the magazine Film Threat, Chris Gore, by the way, I watched this yesterday, so this is topical, has the opinion that Lucasfilm Disney not having Luke, Han, and Leia in a scene is studio malpractice. I have said that very thing on the show many, many times. He called The Rise of Skywalker hot garbage, and he believes studios have no excuses to fail with big-budget blockbusters. And he's absolutely correct. Every studio blockbuster, based on the experience of the studio entity, should be a success. The fact that they make bad movies, he believes the reason mainstream films are so bad or mediocre is because they are not passion projects. They're turned out for licensing deals and access to ancillary markets. Absolutely 100% right. As this article I read said, movies should be seen as a way to build love. And if you're not building love, why are you making them? And where does love come from? Passion. Unless filmmakers are passionate about what they're making. If a studio has, for instance, a Star Wars franchise to make, I would see people who are passionate about the project. Don't look on a spreadsheet and think, oh, he worked on Mission Impossible, Star Trek, we'll hire him. Yeah, let's give C-3PO a red arm and the Millennium Falcon a rectangular dish so I can get the merchandising from that. No. Find people who are passionate about things first. But they don't do that in Hollywood. That's not how it works. Let's see. Chris Gore called Rise of Skywalker hot garbage and believes studios have no excuses to fail with big budget blockbusters. He believes the reason mainstream films are so bad or mediocre is because they're not passion projects, because they're churned out for licensing deals. Another factor has been the failure to hire screenplay authors suitable for the project they were hired for. Films from Lucasfilm and Bad Robot are the best examples of projects doomed to failure due to this fact. Such a bad practice has all but driven the following genre fare to the edge of oblivion: Star Wars, Star Trek, and Terminator. I am sure members of the Post-Geek singularity can add other franchises that have and will suffer the same fate. Again, I come back to Chris Gore, who believes falling back on tropes and shoehorning characters instead of them having been organically in the story from the beginning are significant problems. As I've always believed, everything that is contained in the story is intrinsic to the world of the story to achieve verisimilitude. Otherwise, elements of the story will be jarring and you risk losing engagement with the audience. The mediocre and bad films I have mentioned are classic examples of this. I remember reading an article in the late 1990s covering this public speaking tour in Australia by famous Academy Award-winning American screenwriter, and it may have been William Goldman. I'll have to check on that. He predicted the quality of filmmaking in Hollywood will suffer through a dearth of great screenwriters in the 21st century. The volume of emerging talent in the field would not be there as it was in previous decades. To be an effective screenplay author, I believe one not only has read and studied classic literature, as well as screenwriting, but has also served as an assistant on a writing team under a great screenwriter. To become a great screenwriter, be a voracious reader and read everything you can get your hands on, comics, graphic novels, and novels. Read the scripts considered the best of each genre. Now, I'm not saying anyone who likes those films I have labeled mediocre or forgettable should stop liking them, or that they're wrong for liking them. If you like them, I'm happy you found something to enjoy in those films. However, Hollywood studios are more than capable of producing better films that offer a little more in terms of sophisticated storytelling and verisimilitude as well as entertainment. I am optimistic, and I believe everything operates in cycles, and we will return to the scenario where there will be consistency and high-quality filmmaking once again. I highly recommend everyone viewing The Monster That Ate Hollywood. Okay, you missed the words. Okay, it is The Monster That Ate Hollywood, if they haven't seen it. Hopefully, they will be able to find it somewhere online. It's a great documentary. Well, that's all for me from this letter. I hope yourself and the Post-Geek Singularity enjoy the remainder of the week. Jason Webster. Absolutely. Jason, a great letter. A great letter. And by the way, I cannot believe that I'm getting all of these letters, that there is a synergy going on here with the viewers of this channel. Maybe I'd like to think it's a synergy I'm creating by what I'm sharing. I'm inspiring all you to write these fantastic letters.